Alabama versus Michigan, the Rose Bowl, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone on ESPN. Just setting the tone for you. First, could we have gotten a more romantic matchup from a college football purist blue blood standpoint? The Rose Bowl itself is in Alabama's fight song. Remember, the Rose Bowl will win then. The last time Alabama played in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, they won the national championship against Texas in 2009. Michigan, they will have played in 21 Rose Bowls after the January 1st matchup. It's the maize and blue. It's the crimson and white. It's going to be a beautiful sight when you get the aerial view of the Rose Bowl with half crimson and white, half maize and blue. Two blue bloods with two Hall of Fame coaches going at it for a chance to play in the national championship game. I mentioned Saban versus Harbaugh. A true made-for-TV matchup. This is also the first time Alabama has been an underdog. They're currently a minus 1.5 point underdog against a non-SEC team since 2008. The first time Alabama has been an underdog against a non-SEC team since 2008 against Clemson. I remember that team. That was kind of, say, Alabama's team kind of getting it going. John Parker Wilson. That was the freshman class of Julio Jones, Mark Ingram. Clemson had the number one player in the country, Daquan Bowers, on that team. Charlie White. It wasn't Charlie White. I forget who the quarterback was, but they also had the two great running backs coming at. C.J. Spiller was on that team. So the Clemson team was loaded, but that was Alabama's win. It kind of set them all. It kind of set the tone for where we're at now. That was the last time Alabama has been an underdog in a non-SEC game and at a conference game. The Clemson Tigers 2008. But going back to this matchup, personally, I think this is the best semifinal matchup of the 14 playoff era, especially when you factor in the storylines behind this game or just within this game. First, Michigan, with all the NCAA stuff, they've been without Jim Harbaugh for about half their games this year. Sharon Moore, the offensive coordinator, has taken over as the head coach in multiple games this year for them. Then you got the Jim Harbaugh. Is he going to be in the NFL next year or not? He apparently has the 10-year, $125 million contract sitting on his desk, waiting for him to sign. He didn't want to talk about it till now. Could he be in the NFL next year? There's also rumors. This could be Nick Saban's last. Before I got on the show, before we recorded this, I saw Dennis Dodd from CBS or Barrett Sallee, one of them, write an article. Could this be the last time we see Alabama's Nick Saban and Michigan's Jim Harbaugh coaching in college football? There's rumors out there. It's some quotes saying an agent's been hit up a lot. I don't necessarily believe the Nick Saban thing. I lean a little bit more towards the Jim Harbaugh thing. I don't think that's going to be as big of a distraction as some people think for the Wolverines in this game. But there's a lot to go off of. Just the Blue Blood storyline, it being at the Rose Bowl, a semifinal game, two future Hall of Fame coaches in this matchup. Could it be their last games? Maybe. And then also factor in seeding. Number one seed has won 7 of the 9 matchups in the college football playoffs. Alabama winning one of them in 2017 is the 4 seed against Clemson, who was the 1 seed. So the 1 seed is, not shocking. They're the 1 seed for a reason, but the 1 seed has won predominantly these 1-4 matchups. But a lot of people are picking Alabama in this one. But Vegas still likes Michigan, as obviously they have them as a 1.5 point favorite right now. Just a lot to take in as you're previewing this game. A lot in a positive way. Just a beautiful matchup here. But taking a look at both teams, starting with Michigan, let's get to it. Michigan, 13-0, Big Ten champs. After watching 8 games, really sinking my teeth into the Ohio State, Penn State, Maryland, and Iowa games, I noticed it's a very sound and deep football team that Jim Harbaugh has. Very senior-led team, veteran squad. They've endured a lot. We mentioned it. Being without their head coach for about half the season. All the NCAA with the Spygate, Connor Stallion stuff. Just a lot of stuff to go through. But they're a disciplined, older unit. 38 penalties all season. That's 19th in the country. They've only committed 5 turnovers all year. Those are just fantastic statistics, and those are going to win a lot of football games when you have that. And they commit to what they do. They're going to do what they do, and they're very efficient at it. They've only trailed for 23 minutes in total in this 13-game season so far for the Wolverines. Some bash Jim Harbaugh, and some of it's fair at times. But again, I may be in the minority here, but I think he's a future Hall of Fame coach. The guy's played in the Super Bowl. He's taken Michigan to 3 straight playoffs, beat Ohio State 3 times, won the Big Ten 3 straight times. Just a disciplined veteran team that is committed to what they do. Stands out just initially. Offensively, they work primarily at a 12 personnel. And if you don't know what 12 personnel is, it's 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. They're in that formation or that personnel grouping 40% of the time, 40% of their offensive snaps. From a personnel standpoint, going to watch those 8 games, I would say their best 5 players in no specific order. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy, guy's a winner, 25-1 as a starter. Defensive tackle Chris Jenkins, he's high on some draft boards. Linebacker Junior Colson, stand-up guy off the edge. Running back Blake Corum, a real lean, a true leaner at the running back position. It leans forward, picks up 1-2 yards carries after every initial contact. I like him. Very great running back in this system. And I think Roman Wilson, wide receiver Roman Wilson, a technician, understands where his leverage is, how people regard him, inside, outside technique. He gets open. He makes plays. I like Roman Wilson out there. Then obviously the 2 tight ends, you like them as well. Barner and Colson Loveland at the tight end positions. They're a mismatch for a lot of teams out there. And I'll say this, I do think Michigan does have the lowest ceiling out of the 4 teams in the playoffs. The lowest ceiling, but I think they may have the highest floor, if that makes sense. I think if every team's rocking and rolling to their best of ability, I think Michigan may be the 4th best team. But I think if some teams are playing their worst, because Michigan doesn't really play bad because of their style of play. They don't really allow it. They're so committed, just trying to get in 3rd and short. They'll go run in 2nd and 8 to 10 just to try to stay ahead of the chains and get in manageable situations. So I think their floor's high, but their ceiling's a little lower than the other 4 teams. But moving on to Alabama. Alabama coming in 12-1. SEC champs. Only blemish on the schedule is to Texas in week 2 in Bryant-Denny Stadium. A double-digit loss, 10-point loss to Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. Obviously an improved unit from September. Could be the most improved team in the entire country. But at the beginning of the year, very inconsistent. Very inconsistent. Offense even a little bit still till this day. Very boomer bust. Big play offense for majority of this season. Now, Jalen Milroe is going to get a lot of the notoriety from a national media perspective. But the Alabama offensive line is probably the most improved unit. I mean, Milroe definitely is. But the offensive line, I mean, remember the Texas game, the South Florida game. This was a unit averaging giving up anywhere from 4 to 6 sacks a game on average. They were the 120th, I think, at one time at giving up sacks per game. It was bad, but give Eric Wolford, Alabama's offensive line coach, a tremendous amount of credit for putting in Jaden Roberts over there at right guard. He's done a fantastic job. I think that's when Alabama took it next step. And I think Caden Proctor, the true freshman at left tackle, grew after the Arkansas game. They've helped him out some, but he's gotten better since then. Give Eric Wolford credit. I think that's probably the biggest improvement of any unit in the country this year. Now, Alabama, they're not the veteran team that Michigan is. Younger team, but again, higher ceiling. But Michigan's going to have some guys that have played a lot of snaps. But Alabama, again, is recruited phenomenally. Bama will obviously roll into this matchup with the more talented roster from top to bottom. Let me pull up Mel Kiper's just big board top units for you real fast before we get into this one. Let me pull it up. All right. So here we go. Just pulling this up. This is his top 10 positions. This was from 2 days ago. Ranking every position for the 2024 draft, 1 through 10. J.J. McCarthy, you'll see Michigan coming in at 4th at his quarterback's top 10. And again, this is a deeper Michigan team, the deepest Michigan team from top to bottom that I think Jim Harbaugh's had in his tenure. Running backs, you'll see number 5 coming in, Blake Corum. I like him, a real forward leaner. From a wide receiver standpoint, you're not going to see there, but I do like what Cornelius Washington, and I also like what Roman Wilson's going to bring in there. Cornelius Johnson, what he is going to bring in from that perspective as well. From a tight end perspective, you see A.J. Barner also. I mean, Colson Loveland's going to be in there as well. Number 10, A.J. Barner coming in at number 10 at the tight ends on Mel Kiper's big board. Rolling into here, you also have Zach Zinter, but he is going to be out for Michigan in this game. And this offensive line, I'm telling you, right guard looked different, or the right guard, Zach Zinter, without him in the Big Ten championship game against Iowa. This offensive line looked different. He got hurt in the Ohio State game, but they look different. So I'm interested to see what they look like tomorrow. Then you got a great center coming in at number 6 on Mel Kiper's big board at the center position. Drake Nugent, he'll be in there as well. Then I mentioned him earlier. Chris Jenkins, the big defensive tackle, coming in at 6th. Off-ball linebackers, I mentioned him too. Junior Colson. It looks like me and Mel Kiper are very similar in how we judge this team. From a Michigan standpoint. But again, I think it's a much deeper team than we've seen in the previous 3 years and obviously throughout Jim Harbaugh's tenure since going back to his alma mater in 2014. Again, just a deeper team. I like what this Michigan team is doing from this standpoint. They've built the roster well. They have built the roster well from that perspective. But From a recruiting standpoint here, per the On3 rankings, Bama leads in the top 100 recruits 55-14 from the classes of 2019 to 2022. Those would be the classes that are currently on both rosters. Now, let me repeat myself again. Per the On3 Sports player recruiting rankings, Alabama leads the top 100 recruits. It's kind of the barometer, the bar right there. They lead Michigan 55-14. Alabama has 55 top 100 recruits in their roster. Michigan has 14. That's from 2019 to 22. The current players on the current roster in the 2023 season. When it comes to 5-stars, Alabama leads 14-1. They have 14 5-stars to Michigan's 1. Of those 5-stars, 5 are freshmen, though, for Alabama. So realistically, when you're talking about true contributors to this Crimson Tide football team this year, Alabama has 8 to Michigan's 1. Those 8 names you'll be familiar with: J.C. Latham, Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jahad Campbell, Tyler Booker, Caden Proctor, and true freshman All-American Caleb Downs. Those are the 8 you'll be here. But when you boil it down, this still isn't your typical Alabama team. They haven't played their best this year. They haven't played their complete game yet. I'm still waiting on that. They played well against Georgia. They played well in the second half against Tennessee. Again, keyword being second half. They played well against LSU at times, but they haven't put a complete game that you're used to seeing Alabama put together multiple throughout a season before. But this year, is that tomorrow? If they win, is that the national championship? I don't know, but I'm still waiting to see it. It may not come, but they played good quarters. They played good halves. They just hadn't put a good 4 quarters together. So I'm interested in seeing that from that perspective. But where it'll be won for Michigan, I think it's field position. Short fields are going to matter. The average start for Michigan this year is at the 35-yard line. That is best in FBS. So Michigan led the country in starting field position this year. That will be critical for tomorrow for Michigan. They need to force some turnovers, play well in special teams to help them in that. From an offensive standpoint, J.J. McCarthy using his legs. Guy's a winner. 25-1 as a starter, I mentioned. The recipe to success in the Nick Saban era to beating Alabama is your quarterback has to play his best game of his career and life at times. And I think that Alabama's had trouble defensively with some guys who can run, move the pocket a little bit. And McCarthy's a good athlete. He's obviously going to have to make some plays through the air, but I think his legs will be key as well. He's going to have to use those, not be shy, and just try to make plays from the pocket. Defensively, make Jalen Milroe beat you from the pocket. Milroe currently holds the ball the second longest of any quarterback in the country at 3.25 seconds. That's on average to throw the football. Jalen Milroe is holding it on 3.25 seconds. That's a long time. If Michigan will take that, though, if he's just sitting there in the pocket. Problem is sometimes he gets outside, extends plays, make plays across the field, or just runs and picks up the first down to the needed yardage with his legs. So, I mean, they're going to want to keep him in the pocket defensively. Offensively, J.J. McCarthy's going to be willing to use his legs, make plays, make some plays through the air while rolling out of the pocket with his legs to make plays. He's going to have to do that. And then field position. Michigan's won all year with field position. Remember, they lead the country in starting field position, starting at the 35-yard line. So I think those are 3 keys of where it'll be won for Michigan. For Alabama, I think it's pretty simple. Offensively, Jalen Milroe continue to make big plays. I don't think Michigan's seen a quarterback quite like Jalen Milroe yet. They have to do that offensively. And defensively, again, very simple. Stop the run. Michigan's scheme, when you watch the game, their scheme will lead you to the ball with how they use the extra tight ends to trying to create extra gaps. It is what it is. From a passing game standpoint, I think a key matchup here is going to be freshman All-American safety for Alabama. Caleb Downs is going to have his hands full again, but he's played fantastic this year. The key matchup to watch, I think, is going to be Caleb Downs, or if Alabama mixes it up a little bit, whoever covers Barner and Loveland at the tight end position. Alabama's allowed 465 yards to tight ends this year, which ranks 101st in the country. I'd probably say the best at the time when they played, talking health and all that. I mean, I know they played Brock Bowers in the SEC championship game, but he wasn't 100%. I think it was probably Jatavian Sanders from Texas. And even Jake Johnson at Texas A&M had some big plays. So Alabama's struggled a little bit. When I looked up those stats, I was kind of surprised too. 465 yards to tight ends this year, ranks 101st in the country. So that'll be an interesting. Michigan's probably salivating seeing that. Michigan going to want to make their money in the passing game off play action and throwing between the hashes. Alabama hadn't seen a ton of that, so I'm interested to see how Caleb Downs handles that. I'm really interested to see how they handle that. I think Alabama likes that matchup, and I think Michigan probably likes that matchup too. Prediction. Here we come, guys. Here it is. One of the beautiful matchups, best semifinal matchup in the college football playoff era. I think we got the best semifinal matchup we've had. I think Bama's going to play well with a month to prepare. They just are. Too many resources, too many analysts. I think the systems play within to give Alabama an edge in this one. I think guys like, especially on defense, Nick Saban and Kevin Steele like what they have here. I think the biggest question in my mind will be, can Michigan beat Alabama if Alabama is playing its best game? Let me repeat that. Can Michigan beat Alabama if Alabama is playing its best game? I know if Alabama plays like it did against Auburn and Arkansas, it can definitely lose this game and probably will lose this game. Remember, Michigan's a 1.5-point favorite right now. But for Alabama, stopping Michigan's run game and getting Michigan out of its comfort zone, along with winning the field position battle, are going to be the biggest keys in my mind. Interesting third down here. This is where Alabama's going to want to get Michigan in third down if they can stop Michigan running the ball on first and second down. Here's some interesting third down statistics for Michigan to keep in mind. 3rd and 3 or less, they convert 60% of the time. It's good. Third and 4 to 6, they convert 31% of the time. That's 120th in the country. And then 3rd and 7 or more, they convert 44% of the time. That's best in college football. I bet if I told you 3rd and long, Michigan was the best in college football, you'd be, no way. Well, they are. But from 3rd and 4 to 6, they only convert 31% of the time. That's 120th. That's very bottom of the league. And they're pretty solid in 3rd and short, which is what they want to be, which is why you'll see them run right between the tackles on 2nd and 8 and 10. They just will. They will. But I think at the end of the day, I like Alabama's ability to hit more explosive plays. And the Tide has shown if they commit to it, they can stop the run. I think Alabama ranks in top 15 in run defense when they have 8 or more guys in the box. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think, though, because Michigan's going to challenge the middle of the field in the passing game more than Alabama's seen this year. But give me Nick Saban and Kevin Steele with a month to prepare to face an offense that likes to be in 12 personnel, which I think Alabama's comfortable playing against. I think that favors the Alabama defense, and I think at the end of the day, Alabama makes a couple more plays than Michigan. Give me Alabama 26-20 in this Rose Bowl. Alabama, Nick Saban heading to Houston to face either Texas or Washington in the national championship game. I think this is going to be a beautiful game across the board. I'm fired up to watch it. I'm sure you are as well. Just wanted to give you this Rose Bowl preview before tomorrow's matchup. We're in for a good one, guys.